Hey there! Today my wife wants to show you how to make a vegetable lasagna. So let's have a look at the ingredients. First, let's look at our meat substitute. We've got an assortment of different vegetables, most of which you find in a normal lasagna. Some zucchini, some leek, a couple of mushrooms, paprika in all shapes and forms, a carrot, some parsley root and some celery root. Not pictured is some white wine and all the seasoning like salt and pepper. Now all those wonderful vegetables need to be cut into small cubes. So here is a montage of my wife doing just that. Yeah, that's pretty quick, right? So you can do a whole lot of prep work in advance when you're making this recipe. Great, with that done we can move on to the stove, where we give those vegetables a bit of a fry. In a pot add some olive oil and set it to high heat. Then add the vegetables by hardness, I guess. You know, those that have to cook longer go in first. Makes sense, right? Once the vegetables are all in, deglaze with some white wine or water. And don't forget to season with salt and pepper. While those vegetables are going, let's have a look at our sauces. For lasagna you need two sauces. One is a tomato sauce and the other is a sauce bechamel. So let's start with the sauce bechamel. The ingredients are fairly simple. We've got 30 grams of butter and 30 grams of flour and half a liter of milk, and you can check out the ingredient amounts in the description, also the imperial measurements. And to season the sauce bechamel you need nutmeg, salt and pepper. And my wife wanted to make the tomato sauce from scratch, you know, to give it a bit of her own touch. And here we have just an onion, some garlic, tomatoes obviously, salt and pepper, red wine, some olive oil, and for spices we've got marjoram, oregano, thyme and paprika powder. Okay, so by that time we can remove the vegetables from the heat and just let them sit there on the stove. So next is the tomato sauce. Starting with the onions, give them a bit of a fry until they are starting to get glassy and come a bit golden. Also add the garlic a bit later so it doesn't burn. Then you can add the tomatoes and let them stew a bit until they lose the water. Then you can season the tomato sauce with all the herbs and spices. After a couple of minutes it is time to pass the sauce through a sieve, you know, to remove all the tomato peel, seeds and chunks. At this point the sauce is pretty thin, so back into the pot it goes and a tablespoon of tomato paste is added. Then you can let that simmer at low heat and prepare the sauce bechamel in the meanwhile. For that add the butter to a pot and let it melt. Add the flour and give it a good whisk. Let it fry for a moment until it smells kind of like something freshly baked, I guess. Then, bit by bit, add the milk while constantly stirring with a whisk. Set the temperature to medium-low and season the sauce with nutmeg, salt and pepper. And make sure you drop the whole nutmeg nut inside the sauce and then fish it out and pretend like nothing happened. Okay, now the sauce has to simmer for around 20 minutes until it is nice and thick. And with that, all of our ingredients are done and we can assemble the lasagna. Oh, and don't forget to preheat your oven to 220 degrees centigrade. That's like 430 degrees Fahrenheit. Now when it comes to assembling the lasagna, there are different schools of thought. Now if you want to be absolutely sure nothing sticks to your vessel of choice, you can generously butter your form before adding the first layer. With our glass form we never had a sticky situation, so we omitted the whole butter and started with one layer of bechamel sauce, followed by a layer of lasagna sheets, which we had to break up to fit inside the form. On top of that comes the first layer of veggies, followed by a layer of tomato sauce, then another layer of lasagna sheets, bechamel, vegetables, tomato sauce, sheets, and a final layer of bechamel. Then comes your cheese of choice. Choice of cheese? We decided on some Parmigiano and some mozzarella. Then we can add our lasagna to the oven. And it might be wise to not place the glass dish on a hot oven grate, because you might end up with lasagna in forno instead of al forno, if you know what I mean. And after this quick time lapse, our lasagna is pretty much done. Give it a little poke with a toothpick and accidentally pull off some mozzarella. And once done, you can sprinkle over some oregano and maybe some freshly cut parsley and plate up. Now I added some freshly cut vegetables strategically placed inside the lasagna to make a clickbait thumbnail, as that is what you are supposed to do to get views on YouTube. Anyway, the lasagna was very tasty and I hope you enjoyed this. And maybe I'll see you next time if you want to hear another tale.